Hey guys, welcome to Cantu Comics. I'm your host, Steve Cantu. Today, I'm going to go over what not to do when storing your comic books. So there's a lot of good ones in here. All right, so the first one is do not use double-sided tape. So right here, I've got this very nice clean copy of Amazing Spider-Man 15. It's not fake or anything. It's 100% real, probably a 9.8. Who knows? I don't know. May get $100. But there's some double-sided tape on the back here. So, okay, you're like, yeah, double-sided tape, that's pretty cool. It keeps it together nice and clean. But what can happen? So say you want to take out your book, you take it out, and look, it just happened to stick onto the top, which is also where your book slides out. Even right now, it's already sticking to my fingers. So you can start sliding out your book, and once you get past there, all of a sudden, oops, the tape, it's already stuck onto your book. It's already stuck. So if you're using some of the old school double-sided tape, it's a goner unless you're really, really meticulous to take it off. Luckily, this one that I bought, this is actually the removable double-sided tape. I still would never risk it with any book, even some dollar book, or even this piece of crap, that I just printed out. Because, it can just rip because you're like, oh no, oh, it's stuck. What do I do? And then you take it off and it just rips. So just don't even do it, period. Just don't even avoid, even though this removable is pretty removable, but you never know. It might take some ink. It may crease it. It may do all kinds of stuff. So what you want to do instead, just use some good old masking tape. That's perfectly good. It's resealable. You don't have to worry about it. You just take the whole strip off and it just comes off. The alternative is actually what I do with mine, especially my Mylars. I use these little Post-it tabs. It's like what the people use, like accounting agencies and stuff, for to indicate for people where to sign, or just like little tabs so they can find the piece of paper really quick. But it's great because it's sticky, reusable sticky, and then there's a little tab that you can just pull, and you'll just take it right off. Pretty nice and nifty. I usually use these more for my nicer books with my Mylar, but they're very, very nice. All right, so this next one is do not store your books vertically. If it's temporary, you just went to your comic book shop, you picked up a bunch of books, you just dropped them on your desk. It's cool for a bit, but you don't want to do any long-term storage that way. It's not good because as you can kind of see right here, the ends with the staples, it's much higher. These are much thicker with the staples. It's where the bend is, so it's uneven. So that is not a good way for a long term. It could cause some creases. So what you can do, I don't do it because I like to sift through my books, but the most recommended way is to actually alternate your books. So you can have one facing up and then the other one facing down. And then you go up, one's a little sticky, down, and then you go up, and down, up. Ooh, very nice. Random first appearance of Jim Lee art on X-Men. Yeah, you just alternate it. It's not the most fun when you're sifting through your comics, in your long box, but for long-term storage, that is the best way. So now look at how flat that is. Very, very flat. And for storage, that's perfect. So you just see it's perfectly even on both sides. Can't go wrong. All right, so the next one is do not overly stuff your boxes. I just deliberately threw some more books in here. You can't even go through this. You could barely just see the top 1/6 of the book. You can barely just tell it says Uncanny X-Men in there. You really just don't want to do this because you risk when you're looking through it, you're just la 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 la, pull it out, and it's so tight that you're probably going to bend the book. So especially if you don't have bags and boards, there are goners at this point when you stuff them this tight. So this is not pleasant to go through. It's just, it sucks, really. I get it, okay, I bought a lot of books and I ran out of boxes. I'm just gonna stuff them in here, but it's not worth it. If you have a bunch of dollar books, okay, sure, for a long term, as long as you're not gonna be sifting through them, because you never know, one of those books might be worth $100 someday. It's some obscure character or something. But yeah, just please don't do this. It's really bad. Alternatively, you do not want to understuff your comic box. So this is about half full right here. So you could just see, just barely move it up. They're flopping around everywhere. You know, the big issue with doing this is the one that does not have the gravity. So this front one over here, if for so long it's just sitting here and they all eventually slide, these top front books, what they're gonna do inside is they're gonna just start like creasing like this. And you don't wanna do that. Because I'm already, you know, you're already stressing the book. You don't wanna cause stress marks. And especially years and years, that'll just build up and you pull the book out and it's just, you know, it's a crescent moon. And you could probably press it out, but at the same time, you're compromising your spine. Like you don't know, you may have already gotten tick marks all over it. So yeah, so don't do that as well. So another thing that a lot of people do not do that I definitely recommend is putting cardboard backers or even just comic acid-free boards just on the ends. So I got one here. I also got one on the front. So it would just be any kind of cardboard, just something basically just to protect the sides. This particular corrugated plastic box, it actually does not have the flap that goes in. It has these plastic handles. So this one would actually be okay, but there is a little plastic groove on the inside that if this was overly stuffed, that would actually indent into the book. So it would also protect from the normal, like the traditional white, like box, like cardboard box, comic boxes, because those flaps fold in. And those things, like they can be pretty tight. And, you know, I do have some like long boxes in the garage that have that. And they dig in pretty far. So if you don't have this here protecting your book, like that's just going to dig right into the front book. So who knows what that book is? You know, it could be a valuable book, it could be a garbage book. But I mean, at a minimum, you know, at least like put like this side facing if you don't have any cardboard. But I'm pretty sure we got some cardboard laying around. It's just easy, just take a knife, chop, even some scissors. Just cut it to size, front and back, boom. So the next one, I'm pretty sure every single person knows, but it's do not store your books just without a bag and board, just loose. I've seen lots of old places do that. I mean, that's how they come on the newsstands. Especially when I was a kid, I went to like Rite Aid, or actually it was Thrifties back then. The old like spinning like carousel, they're just there and they all had bends from where the kids were just sifting through. So that's why a handful of my like 90s books have all those like creases on it. So it kind of goes to show you, like if you're just storing these loosely, especially in a carousel, but like long-term storage, if you keep it really tight, it may be good for a while, but these little edges, you know, you're not going to be able to keep these sharp. It's just any tiny little bump or anything, it's just going to nick it. And then it's not protected by the elements of like, you know, water, air, all the moisture in the air is like murder to these books. So, because even this book, I mean, this has been stored in a bag. I mean, it looks pretty good. It's, I mean, slightly creamy colors of the white pages, but it's still, it'd be considered white. But yeah, it's still pretty crisp and clean. So, you know, just get a bag and board. Like if you buy a new book, it's free. They usually just include one in there. Otherwise, you know, just buy a pack. They come in 100. Just store your books. Okay, the next one, I don't have an example in front of me because I do not have any books with mold. But as you're collecting older books, especially like Silver Age, Golden Age, there's a chance that some of them are going to have some old moisture damage or straight up mold. Could be really old, dead mold, but any type of mold, honestly, you should just try and clean it off if you can. But by any means, do not store it with your clean books. So if you have a bunch of moldy books that are still worth some money because they're key comics, set them aside, put them in their own box, have them encapsulated in plastic or something, you know, just make them so that they're not going to infect any other books in your collection. So if you are going to keep them, just keep them steer clear from your current collection. Otherwise, try and clean it off. And then, yeah, then you're good. Okay, so the last one, I've never done this. I know a handful of people that used to do it. I've seen it around. Sometimes you find them at garage sales, but don't store your comics in 3-ring binders. You know, sure, it's kind of cool, I guess. It's nifty. But those top loaders, like, I mean, there's no protection. And at the same time, they're going to be flopping around in there. You got big 3 rings, you know, literally big 3 rings that they could just bash into. And then what's even worse, I have had some books in the past where probably in the 60s and 70s, obviously when kids didn't know anything about it, they literally just put the comic book in one of those 3-hole punches, punched it, and then they put the comic inside the 3-ring binder, all bare. Like, I mean, it's a travesty. Of course, they didn't know they were a kid back then. But again, don't even, I couldn't even fathom someone doing that this day and age. But I have seen it. So definitely stay away from binders. Don't put your comics in there. Maybe if you have cards, I wouldn't even do it with cards, like those little 9-card storage things that are top loaders. I mean, I could just picture the cards just flying out. If you're like holding the binder too loosely or something. Yeah, I just will not do that. Just store them properly. All right, so that concludes this episode about what not to do for storing your comic books. So I'm sure there's some things that I've left out, or maybe I didn't elaborate on. And if you'd like to know more, definitely hit me up in the comments. Maybe I can make a follow-up video to this. But definitely steer clear from these things. Yeah, you're much better for it. Oh, actually, as a quick tip, I have them right here. I also store silica gel packs. I mean, this kind of goes along with the theme of storing your books. Because I was talking about moisture. So you get these everywhere. You buy a new product, even clothes, or just some random stuff. You're gonna get some silica gel packs. Everyone just throws them away. Do not eat, obviously. So these are perfect. Just throw 1 or 2 in your comic box, and any moisture that's in the air, these things will just absorb it. So also don't make sure your box is not too packed, because then this is also gonna press against your book. But yeah, just a nice little quick tip. Silica gel, perfect for comic boxes. All right, guys, so this is Steve with Cantu Comics, signing off.